should use that as our intro.
Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Line. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Taking a deep dive into the arts of mime and choreography. Today, we have a special one for you.
Yep.
Log.
Log. L-O-G.
Short for
Sheep
Lamb
of
of
God.
God. What?
Oh, sorry. Lamb
Baby,
of God.
yeah, baby sheep of God.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yep. By Nicole C. Mullen.
Yeah, it's a banger. So you'll notice there's a lot of songs by Nicole C. Mullen. It's because my sister Rosalie choreographed them. Hi, Rosalie. I love you. Sometimes. Shout out. No. But choreographed around 03, from what I remember. Rosalie, you can tell me I'm wrong in the comments like you always do. What?
Classic.
I know, right? I'm not insecure about this. But fun story with this one. So originally, we had a different song, Celebrate the Day, that was paired. That one's by Reliant K. It was paired with kind of like a prequel song. That was just some classic like Silent Night. Can't remember. It was like some nice music that kind of led into that song. And originally, Rosalie choreographed both of those kind of as like a little sequence for Nativity. The opening didn't work and kind of fell apart. And so what we did is we took this song, Love of God, and kind of put that as the precursor to Celebrate the Day. So often we'd have this song as kind of like just before we do Celebrate the Day. We've since separated those songs just because when you're doing a lot of Christmas outreaches, they're too melodramatic, slow songs. And so for public outreach purposes, a lot of people would leave by the time we get to Celebrate the Day and kind of miss the cross that we wanted to get to, like the gospel message. But still a really good song on its own. And yeah, been part of the Ames San Diego team for a long time. This version's 2014. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Not really, no.
Yeah, that's pretty much the intro.
Cool.
All right, let's get into it. AIM. Before we changed the acronym again. So it was kind of fun when we did a recording day, Grace Brethren Church, where we were recording this, set a bunch of Christmas decorations. We're like, sure. Made it extra fun. We just moved the things to the side and balanced it.
Yeah. In case it wasn't clear that this is a Christmas song.
Right.
You got those.
It's a very, very Christmassy song. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't have your classic like jingle bells in the background because every Christmas song has to have jingle bells.
Yeah, it's the law.
Right.
You know.
Shout out to All I Want for Christmas Is You.
There's literally a person doing
Or
this
Christmas
in
Tree
these.
Farm if you want to. Like, it has to start out melodramatic and then have bells. Anyway, back to this song. I mean, choreography is relatively simple, classic Rosalie fingerprint style. Got a main signer, and then you have things in the background happening. It is a fun technique where you kind of freeze everything in the back so that you're highlighting the central character's dilemma here of like, what does worship look like for me? Because I'm not a shepherd or nor an angel nor a wise person. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this song?
Yeah, one of the things I'll talk about later is there's a slight pacing issue, I believe, and we'll get into that later. But it's very apparent in some of the like chorus scenes where everything freezes. Like it highlights the discussion of what the narrator is doing, but also, you know,
Right. No, I would generally agree. But at the same time, the song is an inner turmoil song, and so we're really trying to highlight that main character. Katie does a phenomenal job here. When developing the character, a lot of it is ramping up those choruses, right? We've talked about that quite often on the podcast, that each chorus should develop. But the first one is more questioning. The second one is, you can see in Katie's emotions, like more dramatic or more frustrating. Like they literally bring physical gifts to Jesus, and I don't know what I'm supposed to bring. And so that realization.
yeah. But the song is also pretty good. So.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely not carried by the song.
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
really
say.
good music, followed by like, yeah, a lot of signs. You definitely have to appreciate a sit down audience for this one, for them to appreciate the whole message and the lyrics. I love this moment where it's kind of a clear the stage moment. We're just trying to get the inner thoughts of this person. It reminds me somewhat of like In the Light, where everyone goes to 00 and it's the person reaching out to the audience in their struggle. The mini solo mine here. Something else random I appreciate about this song is that it is able to be done by as few as, I think, like 5 people we've done it with, where you just reuse the angel and the shepherd as your wise people.
The wise people.
The wise people. We've also had this with a full team where you have like just lots of angel shepherds, and at that moment, the first line of the chorus or this bridge, people would come from off stage to add the signing verse, so it's another layer of dynamic there. I also love the lyrics here where it ends on Christ and not the Lord, because it highlights the struggle that the person is feeling and dealing with. And also, as you are developing the character here, you don't bring out everybody else in the manger scene right now. You just let an entire chorus beat on this one person, letting them be huge and dramatic and frustrated and all the emotions that you want to feel during this.
Yeah. And one thing that, once again, talk about later, is the progression. Like, this has a very simple choreography, but the progression is really, you can see the struggle, you can see the outpouring of emotion that intensifies, and you could maybe even say the understanding.
Yes, because that's the slowly developing, especially as they come out. The main character looks at each of these people coming and realizing, like, this moment, Lamb of God, I offer me. Like, that's the final resolution of the song. I worked on with Katie also, but like everyone who does this main part, this ending moment has to be done like super profoundly, because it's the whole resolution of the song. Yeah, so this would be the ending position, and then you would do like straight into Celebrate the Day.
Yeah, which is just trash song.
Man, I love that song.
Just kidding.
Cool. So that's the song. What are your thoughts? Purpose and message of this song.
Yeah, so purpose of the song, obviously, it's a Christmas song.
Yeah.
So, it goes during Christmas. Now, hot take, I don't think you have to do nativity songs only during Christmas.
That is a hot take. I mean, to be fair, like End of the Beginning, one of our better known songs, has like 3 nativity scenes in it. So,
yeah, I mean, they're really minor, but like, yeah.
But like, I love doing End of the Beginning during Christmas time because it helps connect the whole story together.
Right, exactly. And when I guess, this is a great time to talk about it, where it should go in the lineup. Honestly, like if you don't do it during Christmas, this is a great one to put like near the beginning if you do a chronological storyline. But this is also kind of a more serious, like slower paced. I'd honestly kind of put this somewhere in the middle, maybe closer to the end. It does have applications, so I feel it's a bit versatile in this position.
Yeah, but say traditionally, because a lot of our Christmas presentations are outside, we put it in the middle, kind of the lull of the lineup, and try to get to a serious application in the middle, because it's not celebratory or like kind of a big ending as far as Christmas is concerned. And it's Christmas music. It's pretty minor. It's just that bridge that has the "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him" part. Right. So we've definitely put it more in the middle and let our stronger Christmas songs be at the end of the lineup. Yeah,
I could definitely see that. Yep. And then the message, like, obviously, it's doing a nativity, so that's part of the message. But it does also have that nice part where one thing that I really like that this song does, which we'll get into more in the praise, is that the narrator is part of the song and not just a narrator. And get into that a little bit later. And the reason why I bring that up here is because their sense of progression, their, you could say, submission to God is what ends up driving the plot of this song. And I think that's
it is. Yeah, I would say that is the purpose of the song, is this person reconciling, like, during Christmas time, all these people brought themselves. What does it look like for me to worship God during this time? Right. And so very introspective. I would purpose-wise put this in like a closed church kind of group. I feel like it's more pertinent to that kind of audience as opposed to more maybe generic Christmas gospel for a public outreach. But that would be kind of what I would say is its purpose. And message-wise, it's saying, what does worship look like for me now? It doesn't really answer the question other than I should be worshiping. So it kind of leaves the particulars of the application to the audience, which I prefer, rather than giving them exactly step-by-step what they're supposed to do. But recognizing that's part of the lesson we learned from the nativity story.
Right.
So as for praise, what would be some noteworthy aspects that you would say work well in the song?
Yeah, so as I alluded to earlier, the implementation of the narrator into the actual song itself, into the storyline. Like there's some songs that do it really well, and I think this one does it pretty well.
Right, narrator is not a throwaway character. It's a vital part to the song, where it's more like the upstaging of the narrator is what's going on in their mind.
Yeah, and so when you kind of have that fusion of what we like to call in colloquially the main, so what we have in the fusion of the main and the narrator is, I feel like, really good, because then it also, like, she doesn't interrupt the song. There are some like slight pacing issues of where it feels like there's like the song slows down a little bit too much for the emphasis on her, but we'll get into that later. But nevertheless, that part, like from a choreography standpoint, pretty solid.
Yep. I alluded to it earlier, but I do love the clear the stage moment where everything goes away and we just focus on the person's inner turmoil. We let that kind of heighten the music before the calm bridge of "Oh, come let us adore him." Let that be like the wave of emotions that the person's experiencing, and the clear the stage moment, I think, helps highlight the turmoil they're going through. They're not thinking about the nativity at that moment. But then at the end, when the nativity comes back in, it's settling the main character if they're considering each person, what they brought, and how they should bring themselves.
Yeah.
I love that it's a simple song as well. Like, you're not going to miss that it's clearly a nativity scene. That's what the story lyrics are describing. We get all the parts. Randomly, I do love that the shepherds and the wise men are separate, because fun fact, wise men were not there at the same time as the shepherds. I know. Not really a fun fact anymore. Everyone, I feel, knows that. But at least the choreography, and because of the lyrics, like, it is separated. Minor touch I like. All right, critiques you might give to this song?
Yep. So, pacing thing.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with the pacing is not that, like, it is slow paced, because this song inherently has kind of a slower, more melodramatic pace to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's typically fine. The issue is, like, it gets to a point. I think what really gets me, what really sets it off a little bit too much, is the second chorus.
Mm-hmm.
When we've already had, like, the first chorus where the mood was established, and then the second chorus gets into, it feels like nothing is really moving. It's just like, it is technically progression.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sense of progression does do well, but it feels like it doesn't do anything for the storyline. When you get to the third chorus, like, it's phenomenal and it's great. No problems there. But it feels like during the middle, it just, like, slows down almost to a halt before finally getting back up to a good pace.
Particularly that second chorus. I would agree. And so what we've done to kind of counteract that is it's really dependent on that main character having different emotions between the first and the second one. The first one being more contemplative or subtle or slow, and the second one being more, like, dramatic in the sense of they're realizing that other people are bringing things, but they have not yet. So that it really is dependent on the character to help it. But I do agree that's something in the choreography to help develop the story. But it's also the nature of the song, where the chorus was designed to be a freeze point for the main character. So I don't know if it's something I would fix, quote unquote. But I do agree that it does hinder it in its visual appeal for, like, public audiences particularly. Yeah,
I feel like some subtle character changes, probably, like, maybe to make it a little bit easier to understand how the main / narrator is going through their internal change, because, like, it's subtle, and I like that it's subtle. I don't think that's inherently a problem, but for an audience who hasn't seen this song before,
right,
it has some things missing there.
I might stage it a little differently, where the first one they are more distant from the scene, and the second one maybe they interlace with the characters and walk around them. I think there's probably some staging things you can do to help bridge that gap with the second chorus, because after that the clear the stage moment is intentional, and I wouldn't change that, but just that second chorus, giving it some different staging. Theologically, anything you like about this song?
Well, Katie wasn't in the nativity, like, back when it happened, so I don't.
Yeah, mimes weren't there, so
Yeah.
I'd love to see that version of the story where angels tell the local mimes to go praise the Lord, and,
yes,
and they're like, I don't know how to do that.
And they were speechless.
Yeah, literally. No, but I like I mentioned, the separation of the wise men and the shepherds. I don't know if it was something that was thought about the song, but it is separate, and I do appreciate that. I thought about letting Jesus grow up a little bit, because he would have been approximately, like, 2 years old. But one thing that's really easy to mime is a baby, because you can rock the baby. One thing that's really hard to mime is a toddler that's running around, because unless they change, like, I don't know, like, spin and show that he's growing older, and it's very difficult. So it's fine.
Yeah. Now, I'd say, like, theologically, as far as the nativity goes, it's fine. As far as, like, the person's, progression, I feel like those are the two concurrent storylines that are going along.
Yep.
It's good. So I don't really have any big qualms about the theology. It does feel pretty simple, though. And
no, it's simple.
Like, when we talk about the when we give praises and also critiques, one of the things that I kind of forgot to mention is, like, while it does have a simple message, I feel like it's probably more of an easier song. It doesn't give points off for the simple message like most songs would, because it's got enough going on that it's profound still.
Yep.
So I think that's good. But and theologically then, going into the simplicity of the message feeds into like how we would be able to view, you could say, the salvation process and the understanding of you could say one's own inadequacy in light of a holy God kind of concept.
I think it takes the theology and makes it very personal and applicable to themselves, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, what do we learn from these parts of the stories? Well, one of the applications is that we all should be in holy awe of what the Lord's work began with as a humble manger scene. All right, we're going to give it its CDs: clarity, difficulty, style. CDs, because we're old. I still have a whole CD case.
This guy still buys CDs.
I literally just was thrilled like 2 days ago. I got my CD in the mail. Like, got to use. Used CDs are a great way to get music. Just fun fact. Throwing that out there. Hot take.
Crazy. You know what else is a great way to get music?
For buying it on the internet.
I can't say it. No, but
buying it legally
yes, purchasing it legally from legitimate sources. Yeah.
All right. Clarity, difficulty, style.
So clarity, I feel like the clarity, like, it makes sense. You kind of get it eventually. I have to take off a couple of points because the message of the song on the narrator side isn't readily apparent until probably like the second half.
Yep.
Because like there usually is a storyline that, you know, you can go like the typical 3-act kind of format. Act 1, things are established. Act 2, you know, you progress the story. Act 3, it comes to a conclusion. And it feels like I don't understand what's going on in Act 1 at all. But then in Act 2, I kind of sort of get it. And then Act 3, I'm like, okay, this is all wrapping together what I should have understood. And I wasn't quite sure on it. So like that is where I give a couple of points off.
Right.
Nativity scene, totally fine. Everybody gets that. So no points off for that. So for clarity, I don't know, I give it like a 7.
No, that's fair. It's on the simpler side of the message. Like you mentioned with a 3-part act, I think one of the benefits of the song being repetitive is that if you didn't get the first or second time, by the time we've looped to the chorus the 4th time, you're going to get the point of the song. And so helps reinforce the clarity. I do have to give it some points off because it's simple. And if you were to, like we've talked about this test, if you take away the lyrics, would you understand the song? Probably not. I think the person's going to be more in turmoil because even though they're not doing technical sign language, they are signing the song. They're narrating it. So for that reason, simplicity, taking away the lyrics, I'd give it a 6. I mean, mostly just taking it off because of the simplicity.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. You ready for difficulty?
D. Difficulty.
All right.
So, having taught this song for many years now, coming on 20 years for this song, the hardest part is the main character. They have not only some particular signs, but a lot of character development. The back row parts, basically, we just send the one person to go learn their part with the person who previously did it, and then everyone else, you work on their cues. But literally, after you teach the sign language for that like little bridge section, it's like you turn around on the word angels, you turn on the word like gold feet. Like there's only so many cues that the people have to remember.
Angels, gold feet?
Yes, angels, gold feet. Add it to the lore. No. Those are literally the cues. I have no gold to lay at your feet, the Lamb of God, they offer me. Those last 4 words are in the last chorus when each of the scenes turn around. Very simple. But difficulty-wise, I think I have to give it a separate score for that reason. The main character, not only having lots of signs to memorize, but lots of character development, I give him like an 8. And then for the background, I give it like, honestly, like a 2. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't taught this song myself, but I'm thinking that too. Separate is probably pretty fair. Because, yeah, the same thing that you said, just going to be echoing that pretty much. The difficulty comes on the main. The main is out the entire time, gets no break, and also has to pour emotion into it in varying degrees too. Not just like one character, but also like progressively different characters as well. So that's a hard thing in and of itself, even without the massive amount of sign language you got to learn.
Yes.
And, you know, assuming that you don't have a person who knows sign language, it can be very difficult. So you got the difficulty on the sign language, on the emotions, and even some of the blocking and some of the, you know, positioning and making sure that things make sense with her being melded into the story. So yeah, I'd probably put her at like an 8. I feel like an 8 is fair. And then, yeah, the background people, it's going to give it like a 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say Joseph, Mary, slightly on the harder side because they are out for most of the time. Something I should add is what's fun for all the characters, particularly Mary, Joseph, or the wise people. They have enough time to actually develop a little bit of a mini character. Now, I don't add any difficulty points to that because it really is like they do the basic motions, they're going to get the story and no problems on difficulty. But because there is some room, and most of the time when you're giving notes, like during the session, you're giving notes to the main person or some minor ones to other people. Those people have time to like make a fun character. I know I had lots of fun with Mary and Joseph, like playing the Joseph character. It was like, hey, give me the baby for a little bit, like just switch it up, having little moments that couldn't matter and the audience probably didn't care or wasn't missing it.
Right.
But it has room for those secret fun characters.
Yeah.
Shout out to your brick.
What?
Shout out to the brick that you carried around.
Oh,
with
yeah,
you
in
in Exodus.
Future Charleton, put that in there if I have a video of it.
You have a video of it. You have to cut to each of the moments because he's a total background character.
Yeah, I am nobody in this song, and I'm just having the best time with my favorite brick.
Yes.
And, I, of course, messed around with other people in my group, but, like, throughout the song Exodus, you could see me just holding my favorite brick, and, like, I would show it to people, I'd take care of it.
Right, it's at the ending scene when you're about to celebrate crossing the Red Sea.
I think I set it down at the last scene when we all raise our hands. And like, so it progresses from the beginning of the song to the end just for no reason.
Right. But that's part of the fun of Mime, right? Like, if you don't have like particular things to do, you can come up with your own character. I know that used to be a test where we were like, what's your name of your character? How old are they? Are they married? Or like, you would come up with all these random backstory things, and maybe to some degree they didn't matter, but to the same degree, you act in a different way when you have this backstory to each, the characters. So obviously some of it is already known about Joseph, but was he like, I don't know, a gentle person? Was he more stern? Like you could have like different aspects of that kind of character that you can play with. Same with the wise men. One of them could have been a bumbling idiot and that barely made it into wise man school. I don't know. Like there's room here. He was an
unwise man.
Yeah, exactly. Low tier wise man. No, I mean, maybe technically that's stretching it, but at the same time, Mime is fun. Mime is fun.
And what I do think that this song does well as well, which I was going to talk a little bit more in style when we get there, is the nuance of things that you can add to this song in particular. Because like the main character has just nuance all over the place. Like nuance is the character.
Yes.
And other characters in the background do have like little nuances that you can kind of throw in to make things work. And one thing that I always admire, if people do it really well in nativity scenes, is each of the wise men will have a different object. So like the person who has gold, for example, will give you like a little either like a little chest or like a little bag or something like that. And the person with like myrrh will have like a container, and they'll like unscrew it open or pop
we have a little bottle for perfume. I know that can be confusing with bag, but yes, different shapes to show the objects.
Different shapes and different objects. It's like, it's such a throwaway thing. It's such a small thing that doesn't matter, but like I feel like it is a great example of the great things you can do in Mime with nuance and subtlety. So
exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So you're going to land on 8 for the main, and where are you going to land for the background?
Yeah, so 8 for the main. I think I'm going to go 4 for the background. Mostly because I'll round it down, mostly because like it's just a typical nativity scene, and I feel like if you've already done a nativity scene, you'll probably get it down pretty easily. So
cool, that's fair. Finally, style. Something like that. Anyways, I don't know why you're doing that.
I don't know. Like, I just felt it deep down.
So
in my kidneys.
In your kidneys. Sounds painful. So style-wise, beloved song. Not only did my sister write it, we've been like one of the only teams who've done it like every year during Christmas since. So
do I hear bias?
It's very biased. So it is a favorite. It also is one of the things I would give to a mime who is trying to develop their characterization. I'd often use this kind of as a challenging song and that make them grow in that way. So all that being said, the style is fun, but it's very simple in the background. I think there's some cool like clear the stage moment we've talked about, and integrating the sign language and the common piece. But overall, I'd give it a 5. Style's fun. It's unique in some ways, but the nativity is pretty basic.
Yeah, like I feel like all the style points that I give it pretty much go to the main.
Yep.
And because like nativity, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. nothing crazy. Like you got some nuances that we talked about already that you can add, but the main is really where like almost all of the style points get given.
Yep, that's about right.
And so I feel like I was leaning toward a 5 or a 6. I don't know, I'll round up to a 6 just for Katie.
Just for Katie.
Looking
Good
out
job,
for
Katie.
you, Katie. And because I do think Katie does this part a lot of justice, because it would be really hard if we had like somebody who wasn't good with expressing emotions.
It is dependent on the main being very expressive.
Yeah, but I give points to Katie because she has the expertise, the skills to progress through the song in a way that makes it look good.
Yep.
And so I give her high praise for that, but also in the character itself, she does the choreography well, which I feel like is then why we can exemplify this. And we'd be having a lot of a different talk if she didn't do it well. But because she did, we get a good view of what it should look like. And that's kind of where I'm trying to wrap all that together.
Right, which hence why we gave it like an 8 on difficulty for the main character. Because again, if they mess that up, it loses a lot of points all of a sudden.
Yep. So yeah.
So you're sticking to 6?
Sticking with 6.
Cool. That's our song today. Links down below for the original.
Smash that like, subscribe! I'm trying to keep them on their feet.
You got me on my feet. And as always, I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Breaking the line.
Did I actually escape?
Just mildly loud.